Red Hat Insights has achieved Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program, aka FedRAMP, Agency Authority to Operate, or ATO, at the high impact level. With FedRAMP High Authorization, U.S. federal agencies and their contractors are now able to monitor and manage their business, operations, and security use cases for Red Hat Enterprise Linux on AWS GovCloud using Red Hat Insights. Cool. What's that mean? How does it work? And how do you get started? I'm going to assume that you're already operating in FedRAMP and you have a satellite server that you want to connect to GovCloud. That satellite can be in or out of the boundary, but it must have its IP whitelisted to operate in FedRAMP. Assuming you have all of the onboarding pieces and you're able to log into the hybrid cloud console in GovCloud, then one of the biggest differences between what I'll refer to as the commercial version of Insights at console.redhat.com and the GovCloud version at console.openshiftusgov.com is how you connect. In the commercial instance, you can connect a host directly to Insights, you can connect via a web proxy, or you can connect via a satellite. In the FedRAMP instance, there is no direct connection from a host to Insights. You must be connected via a satellite. As a result of this difference, at the top of the page, you see this Manage Satellite button. Click it. This page will tell you how to connect your satellite to the FedRAMP instance. There are 3 simple steps listed on the screen. First, we generate a token. This token's only good for 5 minutes. Second, you need to get your organization ID that you want to register by running the command hammer organization list. This is a numeric value. In my case, the org ID is 1. Third, run the registration task and use the org ID that you got in step 2. You're going to be prompted for your token. And that's it. The satellite server is now listed in the list of registrations below. At this point, any hosts that are registered to the satellite will proxy the data from the host to the FedRAMP instance of Insights. Everything else pretty much works the same. This satellite server has 5 hosts. They are all now connected to Insights and can be seen in the FedRAMP instance of the hybrid cloud console. I'm going to go to the inventory. Here we can see the systems that are connected to the satellite. My systems all start with TYS-FR, Tyson's FedRAMP. Let's look at one of the hosts. Here we can see some basic system facts. This is the type of data that Insights looks at to make an analysis. Some of the findings are listed in the tabs at the top. Let's focus on regulatory compliance. Regulatory compliance can be complicated, but Insights tries to make it easy to both configure and tailor a policy and review the results. Let's start with the policies. I'll click Security, Compliance, SCAP Policies. I already have a couple of policies created, but I'm going to create a new policy just to show you how this is done. And I'm going to do it cooking show style in the interest of time. I'm going to create a policy, edit or tailor it, then I'll switch to the already configured policy, which is my DISA STIG for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8, for the results portion. I'll start by clicking Create New Policy. I'll choose RHEL 8 because it just happens that all of my systems are RHEL 8 at the moment. I purposefully use older systems in demos, otherwise you just don't get to see as many interesting things. We have 16 total policies for RHEL 8. I'll see them all on one screen. If I scroll down, we're going to look at DISA STIG policies. I already have DISA STIG for Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 in use. I do want you to notice to the right here, this column, that is the supported OS versions column. DISA STIG for RHEL 8 supports 8.2 through 8.10. This DISA STIG with GUI, though, supports 8.4 to 8.10. Some policies are specific to the versions of RHEL that they support, and not every version of RHEL supports every policy. If you're trying to evaluate a RHEL 8.3 system, you couldn't use the DISA STIG with GUI because it isn't supported. Overall, though, these two policies should be very similar, so for cooking show style, I'm going to show you the DISA STIG with GUI. You can expand this out, you can see additional details, but I'm just going to click Next. If desired, you can alter the policy name, you could add in a business objective, but key thing here to me is the compliance threshold. It may be that you require 100% compliance to this policy, but however, I'm going to allow a little bit more leeway while still considering a system compliant. So I'm going to change it to 98%. This should allow us to miss a couple rules and still be within a passing range. Click Next. The next thing we do is select the systems that we want to include in the policy. I only have a few systems in this environment, so I'm just going to select them all. Notice that you can see the RHEL versions here. If I had a RHEL 8.3 system, it wouldn't be displayed here at all because the policy doesn't support that version of RHEL. But I do have 2 8.4 and 3 8.6 RHELs. Click Next. Here's where the magic happens. I want to draw your attention to the top of the wizard. Remember how I had 3 8.6 systems and 2 8.4 systems? Notice that I have two tabs at the top, one for each version of RHEL, including the number of systems for that version of RHEL. When I look at RHEL 8.6, I see an SSG version of 1.72. That's a supported SCAP security version for that version of RHEL. Not everyone is aware that there's a supportability matrix for the version of SSG to be used with the version of RHEL. As new features get added or removed in RHEL, we update the SSG to be aware of these changes. Most newer versions are fine and work with the newest version of the SSG, but in older or non-extended update support or EUS versions, there could be a mismatch that gives you misleading information. Something we really don't want to do when it comes to regulatory compliance. SSG 1.72 has 407 rules that it looks at for compliance. If I click the RHEL 8.4 tab, this uses SSG version 1.66. That version only has 391 rules that it looks at, so there's 16 more rules in the newer version. But it may not even be that simple. In the newest version, we may have removed 4 rules while adding 20 more for that difference of 16. It's for this reason that we have different tabs. Tailoring changes that you make for one version of RHEL, you may not make for a different version of RHEL. For now, I'll return to the 8.6 tab. Before I continue, notice the other buttons up here at the top. Selected only means I'm only seeing the rules that I've selected. So if I unselect a rule, I'm no longer evaluating for it and the rule will no longer appear on the screen. I also have the export button so I can export out the list of rules to CSV or JSON, and I can use the filters to adjust the view if desired. I also want to point out the grouping views that we use here in Insights. Insights tries to group all of the rules together logically. If you prefer a traditional list view, then you can change this in the UI just by toggling the button. I prefer the group view to begin, so I'm going to start with that. I'm also going to give an overly simple tailoring example. Let's say that in your environment you only use IPv4. As a result, you want to tailor this policy to not evaluate any IPv6 rules. So we're going to expand out the system settings. Then we'll expand network configuration and firewalls and IPv6. Also expand configure IPv6 settings if necessary. And we can see all of the IPv6 rules in one place. I could just uncheck the IPv6 section here. That's going to make it all disappear and stop us from evaluating it. But I'm going to go ahead and look through these real quick. Notice for each of these settings, you see a severity. You can also see if a playbook is available to remediate the issues. If I expand it out, I can see the description, the identifier, the rationale, and any values that are associated with it. But if I unselect it, it's going to disappear from my view. So just click the button and it's gone. I'm no longer evaluating for this particular rule. I'm going to remove all of the IPv6 entries. So I'm going to scroll up and I'm just going to uncheck the entire category. All my IPv6 rules are now gone. To validate this, I'll go back up to the top of the screen, and in the filter, I'll search IPv6, and I've got nothing, no matching rules. Let's make sure this filter is working. What about IPv4? There we go. I've got a bunch of different results for IPv4. I can see them here on the screen. IPv6, though, nothing. So I've removed those properly from my view. Search works quickly and easily. So removing a rule is easy. What about adjusting a value? Let's say that your password standards are more stringent than what DISA STIG expects. DISA STIG uses a 60-day max password length, but you use a 45-day. You want to do the evaluation with your standard. I'm going to clear out this search here, return to my group view. We're going to go System Settings, Account and Access Control, protect accounts by restricting password-based login, and set password expiration parameters. Here we have our set password maximum age. That is currently set to 60. Before I change it, also notice the set existing passwords minimum age. In this particular version, it also has a reference to the maximum password age as well as the minimum. So I'm going to go to my maximum here, click the pencil to edit, and we'll change this to 45 and click the box to save. If I scroll back down to my password's minimum age, that's already updated to show the new value. So we've just edited the rule. When we do our evaluation, you'll use that edited value for compliance. Before we save and move on, remember, we've got two tabs. I want to repeat the same thing for the other version of RHEL. So I'm going to go back up at the top, click RHEL 8.4, expand System Settings, Network Configuration, and uncheck IPv6. In the search, I'm just going to look for password. There's my password maximum age. I'm going to edit this to 45. So I've made the same changes in both versions of RHEL. Click Next to continue. We can review these changes and click Finish. Tap Return to Application, and you've completed a new policy. So now we have DISA STIG with GUI and the regular DISA STIG. With that set up, the next thing you would do is on your hosts, install the SCAP Security Guide package. That's going to install OpenSCAP as a dependency. And then you run insights-client-compliance. That command will perform an evaluation of any assigned policies and upload the results to Insights. Once those are uploaded, you can see your results inside of Insights. The scan can take a couple of minutes, and you need to do this on each host that you're evaluating. Once you have it working, you want to set up a systemd timer, a cron job, or something similar to perform the scan on a schedule of your choosing. As we mentioned before, I already have DISA STIG policy set up, and I have those results ready to share. So let's take a look at the reports section of Insights. The policy we just created, it's not yet reporting here. That's because we haven't gone and performed the evaluation on those systems. But I can see my DISA STIG policy already here. It's reporting as 40% compliant. If I click the question mark, it's going to give me a little bit more detail. If I had changed the name, it would show me what policy this was based off of, and it's also going to show me that compliance threshold. I'll go ahead and view that policy now. The details page breaks down that 40%. Out of the 5 systems that I have registered, 2 systems are compliant, 1 system is non-compliant, 1 system is not supported, and 1 system has never reported. Combined, that gives us that 40% rating. That not supported system means that the system has a version of the SCAP Security Guide that doesn't match the version of RHEL that is running. As such, we can't accurately judge if the system is compliant to the policy. The never reported system is a system that we expect to be held compliant to this policy, but it's never checked in. This might be pretty easy to notice with the 5 systems that I have in this demo, But if you're talking hundreds or thousands of systems, you're not going to notice one missing without something like Insights telling you that it's not reporting in. Let's scroll down the page. Here's those 5 systems. The compliance systems are at 100% and 98%. That's pretty good. Let's focus on the others. I'm going to start with the unsupported system. FR05 is running SSG 1.72 on RHEL 8.4. That version of the SSG is newer than what the version of RHEL supports. This fix for this is to downgrade the SSG to a supported version. From the earlier setup, you may recall that RHEL 8.4 needs SSG 1.66. But if you can't remember that, tap the question mark, and it's going to give you a link to the supported SSG versions. This is a knowledge base article with that matrix built into it. Even with the mismatch, I can see that we have 46 failed rules. So let's take a look. From the system-specific view, I can see more details, the unsupported version and the rules that are failing. With the grouping, I can see what category these rules are in, and I can span them out, and I can see exactly what fails. Notice that it's showing me passed as well as failed rules at this moment. So in order to fix that, I just go up to my filters real quick, rule state, failed rules, and I've adjusted my filters, so now I'm only seeing the things that are failing. If preferred, I can move this whole thing over to that list view, and I can export this list out to CSV or JSON. I'm going to return to the reports view. If I select FR02, that's only failing one rule here. And if I want to look at what that one rule is, again, rule state, failed rules, expand this out, mail server, the postfix package is not installed. So literally the only thing I need to do here is just yum install postfix. That's going to be an easy one to take care of. I'm going to return one last time to the reports. Notice at the top of the page I have this download PDF button. If I click that, it's going to give me a compliance report and some minor customization options. I'm going ahead and clicking compliance systems, so I will include those in the report as well, and then export report. That downloads the report locally to my host, and I can click the report to open it up in another view. This is going to show me policy details, my compliance level, my systems that are non-compliant, unsupported, never reported, and compliant, and then it's going to list each of those systems, including failed rules and their compliance scores. I'm also going to get a list of the top 10 failed rules in my environment. Those are the things that I need to focus on. So review report, we'll close this once completed, and that completes this tour of the compliance service in FedRAMP. Overall, it has the same look and feel as the commercial version of Insights. I hope that this has been helpful, and see you next time.